Good day folks, the Pro Audio Journalist here. Improving your digital modelers. Considering people are worried that all guitar tones are sounding the same these days, I'm surprised that more players and engineers are not going the extra mile to make their digital modelers sound more authentic or unique. I do worry that the younger generation have become accustomed to the sound of digital modelers before the technology has been completely refined. In 20 years' time, the technology will be further refined, and this period will still be considered the infancy of digital tone. Guitar players and bass players are inherent tone tweakers, so what I'm suggesting should be fun to say the least. Experiment with and have fun tone chasing. There's not much more exciting than a new piece of gear to experiment with to possibly improve your tone, and it's a great way to sound unique. Try to be the player who has such a great unique recording tone that people discuss and speculate over the mythical chains you possibly used. If you have done something special and unique, you'll have a great time in interviews letting fans know the magical chains you have discovered. I'm going to cover some suggestions ranging from low-cost units to bargains on the used markets to absolute unicorns if you can find them today. So grab a cup of coffee and let's do some tone chasing. My first suggestion is the Radial JDI. However, I'm suggesting using the unit after your digital modeler to add some analog flavour and transformer weight to your tones. This unit will create a warmer tone that takes EQ really well in the mixing process. The Jensen transformer creates a very subtle bandpass filter, tightening the lows and trimming the ultra-high end. I believe Radial are calling this a bison curve, and this is the response I got from Radial when I asked about this term. Inherently, all transformers will behave as low-pass filters. Most filters will not only affect the amplitude of the high frequency, but also their overall time alignment. What a bezel filter is a type of filter with a much more linear phase response and a steeper curve for high frequencies. Both the bezel filter and the Jensen transformer are designed to be as transparent as possible for frequencies within the audible range and produce some of the lowest total harmonic distortion figures on the market. The JDI is generally best placed at the end of your signal chain, post-modelers, in order to feed an XLR to your mixer or interface. Considering the low cost of the Radial units, I'm surprised that more are not incorporating this unit into their recording rig, not to mention the noise and hum rejection that is a godsend in the studio. My next recommendation is to use hardware preamps in the chain. This is going to get you closer to the tones you've heard on your favourite A-list records. Arguably, the most heard guitar tones on top records were recorded with Neve or API preamps. My advice is get a couple of preamps for different tones, and it's hard to ignore how convenient 500 series units are for this purpose. Considering that even Behringer are releasing cost-effective clones of classic preamps, there's really no excuse for not trying some analog mojo in your tones. Plus, investing in preamps is a great idea if you are recording other elements too, like bass, drums, vocals, etc. A Neve preamp is going to add some smoothness, weight and depth to your tone. A very slight compression from the slower slew rate too. Whereas API preamps are going to have more bite and saturation and have a much punchier response. Kristian recently did a great video showing the differences in guitar tones from running them through different preamps, and I will link the video below. It also makes total sense to add tube preamps to your chain if you're using digital tube amp modelers. This will make your tones more realistic and give them a tube-like upper mid-range and high end that we love so much when it comes to tube amps. You will have improved sound quality and a sheen that makes EQ boost to brighten your tones more natural sounding. The Retro Instruments 500 Pre is a great choice for this purpose. Even the subtle differences between different tube preamps will give you a sonic palette to choose from, ranging from lo-fi to hi-fi. I'd also like to suggest the PreSonus ADL 600 as an option, and these go for a steal on the used market considering their top tier components quality. It is a really expensive and plush sounding unit with a massive low end. If you want a hi-fi sound, this is the unit to buy. I'd also like to recommend DW Fern units if you can afford them. There's a company called Stam Audio that are doing Neve API preamps with a tube stage in the circuit. These would be so great for enhancing digital modelers, however I haven't tried one. The guy that owns the company has some really genius ideas bringing vintage gear into the future. Josh, if you're listening, I'd love to do a video on these units demonstrating how they can improve digital modelers. In all the tests that I've done, there are 2 units that are perfect for transforming your digital modeler into analog bliss. One is an absolute unicorn, and the other is actually very cost-effective. However, I'm going to keep the cost-effective unit a secret, as I will be doing a video in future on this unit, but I'm very curious to see if anyone can guess what the unit is. As for the unicorn winner, I'm referring to the Groove Tube's brick. This is the epitome of tube tone and vibe, and seems to perfectly suit guitar tones. These are not in production anymore, and realistically they would be easily $2,000 to $3,000 if in production today. As for build quality and components quality, it is simply top tier. The unit really sounds warm and exciting. It has a very subtle mid-range push that is perfect for guitars. This is also due to the bandpass effect of the unit. My advice is take the high Z output of your modeler into the high Z input of the brick. You'll have listeners swearing that you're using a tube amp. Honestly, it's like Neve API had a tube preamp baby. It's really smooth, but there's also some subtle saturation going on. In closing, my goal of this video is to encourage experimentation. The primary goals must be sound quality and, most importantly, fun. A piece of gear can inspire you to create music. Even if you're running an EQ pedal after your modeler, the result is still going to sound more analog. If you're in the studio a lot, maybe think about investing in a nice analog EQ to run after your digital modeler. It will help your tone and be unique to you. I'm a firm believer that using some analog units each step of the production process is going to produce a nicer end result, even if it's simply using an analog pedal after your modeler. If you'd like to see me do a video of different analog units after digital modelers, please let me know in the comments below. If you're running some analog gear with your modeler, let us know in the comments. Please like and subscribe and give me a thumbs up if we're both awesome. I'm the Pro Audio Journalist. I'll see you in the next one.